Welcome to Rodus Live. I'm your host, Rodus. Today we have no stranger to the show,
What's
part
up?
of the Pod Fam and
Yes.
numerous and various podcasts. We have Shen.
What's
Hello,
goody?
Shen.
What's goody? You know what I'm saying? I'm representing for the pod fam. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's popping. So,
We got we
so,
got
so,
G.
how often do y'all have episodes? The Pod Fam, and
Oh,
and, and who is the Pod Fam? Who are the
okay.
members of the Pod Fam?
So the members of the pod fam are Gigi, Baylor, Greg, me, and the Drake. Okay, so pod fam happened like this, and this is not the only people in my pod fam.
Right.
It's the initiators of the pod fam who came from the Zoom during the pandemic, and we all bonded on a different level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Complete strangers. I think some of them have met in person, some have not. I haven't met anybody in person in this pod fam, but I've met Taroy, which is good pod people that I pod with. He has the Average Joe podcast. We got Ant from Too Much Game, you, Juice from Chilling with Juice podcast. There's just like I got Larry from the Couch Sessions. There's so many podcasters that I listen to that are consistent, that have their own reason of why they're potting. And those are the people that I call my pod fam. Like if I want to bounce ideas, I'll call them up. I'll
Right.
text them. And but we created like this this family unit of what we going through, what we want to do, what do you think about this idea? And it just came from a Zoom created by a different podcaster, that Peabody, which I don't think he podcasts anymore. And the Zoom would go on for hours. Like we talked about before we press record, about people would talk for hours. I'm talking about hours. I was just Zoom.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, it was good. So that's where that came from.
That's what's up. So, speaking of, the RIP podcasters or the
Mm-hmm.
MIA podcasters, there's a lot of podcasters that quit,
Yeah.
and I really like their shows. I don't know if it was because life be lifing or they was just doing it, but some other podcasters, they just had that thing, like Lauren Hill say,
Mm,
that
right.
thing, that thing.
Not the singing.
I'm trying to hit it a little bit, but they just killed it.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you one question before I ask you this because you fit to kill something that I like, but I'm gonna just
Mm-hmm.
ask you this question.
Yeah.
Shan is not a killer.
Don't push
If
me.
you if you can go back in time and tell Chantel Marshall anything about content creation and being a podcaster, what would it be? What would it be?
Be your most authentic and stay consistent. That's it.
That's what's popping. I should have expected that. So
It's me,
I know. So how many podcasts do you have
Mario. Right now that are active,
to date?
Cozy Room podcast starts back the first week of August. The Creator podcast, which is a new podcast for me where I'm dabbling to the art world because I didn't hear any black from my culture people on a podcast talking about art technique or talking to other creators, right? And so I created that to reach out to other creators who figured out how to build a bridge from childhood creativity into adulthood and make that their career. So I'm having conversations with artists all across the world on there. I'm talking about different art techniques. I'm talking about the assumptions that come with art. And so that's going to be fun. That starts in August also. Then we have the real relationship report that I do with Jay, which is OG Dungeon on Stereo app. We record twice a month, but last month I missed it because mom life. You know, it's back to school time for the girls. I missed it. 8 p.m. Eastern is when we record every other Friday each month. So we got another episode coming on August 2nd. You can check that out through Stereo app. I take the live recording where we could talk to me while we're recording, and I
Mm-hmm.
put it on the actual podcast on other podcast platforms, which you could check out. You can
Dope.
also go to shanbypodding.com and listen to each one of my podcasts on that website from that website. You don't have to go on a podcast app if you don't have a podcast app. Then we have what's next? Loudmouth Stereo has ended. It ended last week. That was with me and Greg from Young Black and Bothered.
It's
We
done.
started that during the pandemic.
It's
And
done. It's
what you say?
done. It's
Yeah, it's
done.
done. It's
It's
done.
over. It's
Over.
quits.
Okay. Um, and not on a bad note, just
Right.
because people evolve, and if you consistently can't be there like your audience is used to, it starts to feel like a job. It starts to feel like work. It starts to feel like something you, oh, I got to do that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
with the flexibility of my life and his life, our lives are not the same. We don't live in the same state. And to me, as a creator in podcasting, where you were at the beginning is fine. How you have evolved over the years with the resources that are available to you is very important. And I think a lot of podcasters get that misconstrued when you started recording in the closet. 4 years later or 3 years later, you shouldn't be recording in that closet anymore. I don't care
No.
if it's close by or whatever. You have to evolve. The quality has to get better, and not just for you, but you owe that to your audience. You owe that to your listeners. You owe that to your subscribers, right? Especially people who've been supporting you, sending in money, buying merch. Why isn't the quality of your podcast getting better? Why isn't your video getting better? Why isn't your audio getting better? Why isn't your access to other platforms and utilizing a live, utilizing TikTok, engaging with your audience, getting better? And so for us, it strictly became just audio. Rarely was it visual, and I just felt like because his schedule, my schedule couldn't, get on the same level, and visual wise, we weren't really meeting where we should be. I'm just like, I don't want to give our listeners below average of what we could do. So let's just make this the last show. So that's the
TV
last
dinners. TV dinners taste good when you ain't had one in a while.
show.
Not because you have to eat them.
Okay, not because that's the only thing there. And then we have So What Patreon Be, which is a book club with Casey and Kiki, which are like my friends in real life that I met through my corporate job in 2014. And we just got to a point where we just like, the people we work with are stupid. The people we work with talk like they don't read. And each of us wanted to get more into books and reading. And we were just like, why don't we do like a book club podcast where we pick a book and we discuss it and we talk about adult shit. So that's what that is. And it's So What Patreon Be. And we're on our 17th season now. We're reading
Woo!
Children of Blood and Bone. Each season is a new book. I list the books on shanbypotting.com. If you want to see what books we had, how we rate them. And we've only had one author come on the podcast, and unfortunately, she did pass away 2 years ago.
Oh
We
wow.
still don't know the cause of her death, but she was in the midst of making her books a show, and it was just so sad because she was so young, so like a vibe, chill, down to earth from Brooklyn, like chill. And the author that we're reading now, she's in the middle of casting for one of her books to become a movie. So
That's
black
awesome.
black woman. It's just amazing to see. And so we're finishing that book now. Um and getting ready, prepping for the end of August for season 18. And is that all of the shows? Let me make sure. Because my mind. Let me make sure.
Look at you.
Um, oh, Wear It Right with Shen. So Wear It Right with Shen, what is that? Um, I went to college for 4 years and I majored in
Okay.
fashion design and marketing. Always loved design, always loved fashion. Really wanted to focus on footwear design, but in the US, that's not really a thing here. You really have to go overseas to study that. Still something I will do once the girls get a bit older, where I'll start the next level of actually creating a footwear line. But because I can't do that how I want to now, I don't want to forget it. I don't want to act like style and fashion is not a part of me, especially because I live in the South and fashion is not really a thing here unless you're wearing name brand and everybody's shopping at the same place, which is corny and crusty. But I'm not somebody that needs to be out and about and in the mix a lot, but I still love design and fashion. So that's why I made that. And it's Wear It Right with Shan. All of the podcasts are hosted through Red Circle, which has been
Woo-hoo.
my platform
Woo-hoo.
for a lot of times. If you are a podcaster out here and you want fair opportunity, please look into Red Circle and what the opportunities that they offer for collaboration, ads, and you getting paid. And you want to see the value of your work a lot faster than a Spotify, a lot faster than other platforms, especially for indie podcasters. We rarely have a big support system um, to allow us to eat off of our content, our time, our research that we're putting into these shows while we talking on these mics. It's not just being in a room and getting a mic and talking and running your mouth. It's a lot of thought that goes behind it. And I feel like with our effort and our consistency, we deserve to be paid for it. And so if you want to be paid for your efforts, look into Red Circle. Who brought me to Red Circle first? It was Greg from Young Black and Bothered. We had a conversation. Initially, he talked about wanting to make the switch from Anchor, which is now Spotify, to Red Circle. I did the switch first. He came behind me. Then I talked to a few other podcasters. They came. You're on there now. You're loving it. You're loving the feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my home for right now with the podcast. Um, with the change of Google not doing websites anymore, I was forced to go to Squarespace. Squarespace wasn't making it shake fast enough. So I had to revamp my website, shandypotting.com, to Wix, which has given me like a blog feel. So I created a blog on there called Thick and Grits, Thick, Thick Pods and Grits, and it's called that because I want y'all to be in the thick of podcasting, what's going on in podcasting, tips in podcasting, what podcasts you might want to check out, um, what's going on, what happened in the last month. So each month I revamp the blog for it and I give the details of what happened the previous month and things to think about. I highlight, what's the month awareness for next month is Black business support. That's the whole focus
Awesome.
for August. So I have a few Black businesses on there for people to support. And it just gives people ideas to refresh and have conversations with because I feel like in podcasting, if you come into podcasting, you don't have a purpose, you get lost in what's trendy. And my thing is, how many times can you listen to the same conversation on different podcasts? It gets a bit redundant. So I just want people to see Shannon Be Podden as a place to check me out, but a place to get insight, a place to create thought, a place to get a little, that is a good idea. I should talk about that in this way, or I should take that idea and make this perspective. Oh, that's a good tip. I might try that. Or if you're looking for ad space, I'm available. I tell you on the blog to, DM me if you want to have ad space and put your ad on my podcast. It's amazing to me of all the people who have this thing that they want to do, have this thing that they want to grow, but they're scared to talk about it, or they're
That's
scared
true.
to introduce themselves and say, "Hey, this is my thing. I have is great. I want you to know about it," and put it in a space on the show. I'm not charging you $1,000 to put your stuff on the show. I'm not charging you $20 a week to put your stuff on the show, but it is a space. I am consistent. Um, a lot of companies reach out to me. I get a lot of emails from people who do not listen to my show, but act like they listen to my show. And if you listen to my shows, you would know that I tell you on my show, I do not let guests invite themselves. I pick my guests.
I know that's right.
So, if you're emailing me asking to come on my show, clearly you don't support my show. And so that's a dead giveaway for me. But if we're in conversation and you have something that you're creating, you have something that you're pushing, I'm always open to having you talk about it, record it, and me drop it on the show in between something I'm talking about. But it rarely happens because I don't know, people just expect opportunity to find them and them not do the work for a little opportunity, but it's there. And yeah, that's on my podcast. That's your long-winded answer.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I appreciate you reiterating that you do have ad space because I do have some things coming up
Mm-hmm.
um that I'm trying to promote. And one, I want the word to get out. Two,
Yeah.
I I wouldn't mind paying somebody that I feel comfortable working with that,
Mm-hmm.
support me, I support them.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. People
Yeah.
don't understand it. If you want to get the word out, you have to pay for some type of marketing.
You do, but in the same time, I want people to look at um pain differently when it
It's
comes
an
to podcast.
investment. It's an investment.
Paying is definitely investment. I gave Google $150 for them to push my website on the internet from time to time. That's an
SEO.
investment in myself. And if you do this right and your podcast is under a business, you can write that off at the end of the year, right? So that's an
Yep.
investment in myself. But also when it comes to podcasting, I want people to remember how you support doesn't always have to be financial.
No.
Um, Me having the merch shops, you can find something on there that you would like to use, wear. Um, you have something, I have something from that. Who I'm drop shipping it from has something from that. You supporting the show, find your own clip of the show, share it with your audience. Um, Talk about me in a room where I'm not, share a link, repost. Like there's so many ways to support people that people just act like, oh, I don't have any money for you. Sorry, I can't. You on your phone every day, all day. Please think, be smarter.
It costs nothing to share.
Okay?
Nothing at all.
Nothing. Nothing.
So, how do you have time to allocate time for all of these things?
Um, okay. So let me give you a glimpse. So see that over there?
Woo! Hey, I cleaned up my office. I cleaned up my office and
that's that's
I will
straight.
not whip out the calendar today on this
That's straight
episode.
thoughts. Thoughts that need to be put on a mic. Thoughts that need to be put on a video. They're scheduled. They're dated. The show that I did that was almost 5 hours. That doesn't come out to the end of September. So I am very much a pre-recorder, preparer, set it up, schedule it, post it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have 2 kids. I am not married. I am very single. Um, so I take my time seriously. I take other people's time seriously, and I schedule things so to everybody else it looks like, oh, she just doing this every week. I'm not. I'm bulk recording, I'm bulk editing, and I'm pre-scheduling.
And
So
bulk breaking.
yes, and so it looks like, oh, she just got time. I got a little bit of time, but I work corporate. I work a 9 to 5 like other people do. My kids have needs. Sometimes I'm working and helping with homework at the same time. Sometimes while I'm working, I'm editing. So I'm never not doing anything. I always have something to do. Is it always what I want to do? No, but I make time to podcast. I'm consistent. I'm deliberate. I rarely do things where I have to apologize later because I think about it thoroughly before I do them. I'm not saying that I don't apologize, I do, but it's rare that I have to apologize because I don't put myself in a position to have to apologize. All right. Um,
Your word is good. Your
yeah,
word is bond.
I stick to it. I'm consistent and I know why I'm podcasting. I know what I want to work for myself before this country tells me I can retire. And in order for me to do that, I have to be consistent and I have to use one creative thing to fuel the next creative idea to get me to where I want to be. And that's how I get it done.
That's what's popping. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. If your show, you in the fashion, first
Yeah.
and foremost,
Yeah.
if each one of your podcasts was an accessory, what would they be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay. So I would say Wear It Right with Shen would be a purse because it has different compartments. She Gets It Pod. Ooh, would have been a pair of shoes because she dapples into everything. Footwear wise, I dabble into everything. You rarely find me in a heel because I like to be comfy. But when I do, it's because that's my mood for the day. Um, the Real Relationship Rapport would be like your go-to pair of sweatpants because that's where we keep it really real and solution based of things y'all need to think about in relationships so y'all can be good to another person and good to yourself. That's not a podcast where we bash men and women. That's a podcast where we talk about common issues in relationships and how you can solve them and prevent them. Cozy One Podcast, that would be a hoodie. Okay. An
Okay.
essential hoodie because if we don't raise and guide these kids, what type of future are we going to have for ourselves? Because I don't know about you, but at 37, my back, okay? So I just really want to make sure that I'm raising good human beings to leave my house one day and be protected and prepare for the world. So that's what that would be. So what page you on, Big? What kind of accessory would that be? Maybe a pair of
Ankle
glasses.
bracelet.
No, a pair of glasses. A pair of glasses. We gonna do.
Okay.
I'm a glasses girl too.
I done seen your eyewear. People ain't up on my eyewear.
As you can see, uh, because you need your eyes to read and visualize what's happening in books and in life. And the best thing about that podcast is where our lives are all different. There's 3 of us, and we still find time to get into a good book and we beam off of each other, you know. And when we're not potting, we're in the group chat on my phone talking about money, jobs, opportunity, where we want to travel. Um, did I miss one? No, I think I got all of them.
It's nothing like a productive group chat.
I know. I know.
Okay. She, if you don't know, she's killing, she gets it, right?
Yes, that's dead. That's done. That was done in June.
What was the mindset when you created it?
Okay. So she gets a pod. It wasn't always She Gets It Pod. I had to change it to She Gets It Pod because two women came up behind me after I created the show and had the same name. And they weren't marketing themselves. They're not as consistent as me. And they were basically using the promotion that I was doing to grow their show. And so I had a conversation with them and I asked them if they can, are they aware that this podcast was already there? And they was like, oh no, we didn't know, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. So they weren't gonna change it. So I wanted to separate myself. So I added pod at the end. She Gets It Pod was never supposed to be She Gets It Pod. I made Cozy Womb first, March of 2018. No, February of 2018. And I wanted to do a podcast with an old friend of mine and an ex number three, right? Because we would have great conversations, long conversations, bouncing different ideas off each other. And I was like, would you be cool if we did this like with an audience? And he was like, yeah. I was like, why don't we do a podcast? And so
Uh-oh.
because he's a music engineer and a Pisces, aka a perfectionist, it never saw the light of day. We could never agree on, you know, when it was going to start, what was the name, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, while you're deliberating, sir, I'm going to do a practice run because Cozy One Podcast is a place where I talk about kids, parenting, being a mom, dad stuff, tips, right? It wasn't a place for me to talk about this horrible date that I had. It wasn't a place to talk about why men having good hygiene is important. It wasn't a place to talk about friend problems, right? And I was like, I need a spot where I could do that. And that's what She Gets a Pod became, March of 2018. And I ended it in June of 2024. And it was just a place where I can have free thought, say what I want to say outside of me being a mom, outside of me being a co-parent, outside of me uh, you know, doing the okay school stuff. I want
You
to talk
could
about what I want to
vent.
talk about. So it had weird topics, um, but I enjoyed it, and I felt like I ended it because I felt like I said everything I need to say, and I felt like my audience should know who I am by now, and it needed a refresher. And I said I want to dapple into another part of me that I'm not feeding. And I didn't feel like I was feeding the artistic part of me. I didn't feel like I was acknowledging it. And one thing that I always hated as a kid is watching creative people become adults and forget themselves. And so it's very important for me to keep the kid inside me alive. It's very important for me to not forget that I am creatively talented in illustrating and painting um, and design. And it's also very important for me to bring light to other people who are doing amazing things that don't want to post on Instagram, who don't have the means to have a website, but they're willing to have a conversation about it. And so I just I want people to see She Gets It Pod as a place where I allowed you to get to know me. And I want people to see the evolving of a part of me being the creator and enjoy that podcast also. Because it's not like y'all not gonna get me. You could get me, just do a show and I'll come on and give you my thoughts. It's just like I'm not initiating my thoughts to an audience without being on someone's show.
I got you. And
Yeah.
that's good. Thank you for always adding value to this show.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, have you ever thought about doing a collaboration with a live shoes?
No.
They pretty dope. I don't know if you even really know about them, but I'm gonna hook you up with them.
Okay.
Yeah. What is the first type of shoe you really want to try to come out with? Like a heel, a everyday flat, a dress shoe,
I would
you
do a
know,
heel because women spend money. Um, a lot of women don't care if they have ugly toes, no shade. I do, okay. But the way that I design, I think about comfort first, function, and then style.
that's what's up.
If you ever seen Japanese garments, that's that's how they design, and I respect it because to me, if you're spending the money and someone is making the item, it should be of quality, it should have a purpose, and it should look good. But I don't believe in having something look good and your feet hurt.
Right. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, but some people don't care, so
Yeah, that kind of remind me of like when you're a shorty and you know the shoe don't fit, but since they some Nike Cortez, you just gotta have them that
yeah,
day.
yeah.
But you know, you just don't know no better, and I get it. But
Mhm.
as an adult and adulting, that ain't happening.
Right. The older we get, our shoes start simplifying, our jackets start simplifying. I understand why older people have the same item in different colors because time is more valuable than sitting in the store for hours. You think about how you spend your money a lot smarter as you get older. And I'm not saying that older people don't spend money because they do, but they spend money on quality things that they'll have for decades.
And
I,
another thing is when you go to put something on and you got so many choices, you don't know what to pick. That's a problem.
yeah,
You got too much stuff,
yeah,
and you like, man, I spent all this money. I could have been investing. I could have put a little of this into Fidelity. I could have put a little more into my mutual fund.
yeah.
You know,
That's big boy talk.
I'm gonna be quiet.
Yeah.
So it's ending. You killing it. Did you have a favorite season? Can you remember your favorite season of She Gets It?
I did a season, I think it was season 12 or season 13, where I focused on women illnesses. And I had different women come on. I think my mom came on two of those episodes.
What?
And I recorded it with her talking about women who lost children, talking about hypertension, talking about just different um, things women go through that they should pay attention to. It was about 12 episodes that season, but it was very thorough. And then I did a season on what was it? I think it was like herbal things, so like natural things you can do to relieve stress. I did a season where I had one of my friends come on and talk about your chakras. And I picked a season, I picked a focus, and each episode was that. And there was a season that I did where it was like a kind of like a let me see if what this do. And I want people to play with podcasting too because there are no rules, right? And we want to try things while there's not any rules, while we can before there are rules. I did a season and I dropped it all one time.
Wow.
And I think that was it had to be either season 12, 13, or 14. And I loved watching the numbers and the people's interest on one over the other. And the way I freed up my time during that time was amazing. The feedback was amazing. Scheduling out posts, it was so much easier. And I might do that again with one of the podcasts, but it's a lot of organization, it's a lot of focus. Um, it's a lot of making sure you have your guests proper information and checking in with your guests. Also, don't forget to thank your guests for coming on. Um, my first guest that I had on my new podcast, the creator, he's in Australia, I want to say, and
Okay.
I sent him one of a hoodie from the new shop, and it's the first guest that I gifted a hoodie to, and so hopefully he gets it sometime this week, and maybe he might wear it in his studio or whatever, and maybe that might bring me more guests or more listeners. And I want people to think about that, like, find a way to appreciate the people that you asked to have their time. I'm not necessarily telling you have to do what I did, but I just want him to know that I appreciate him not knowing me from nothing, not being able to listen to the podcast because it was not out yet, and giving me a chance to pick his brain when he could be creating something for him and his family. So, yeah.
So when you dropped the season all at one time, did you fall back for 12 weeks and work behind the scenes?
I tried to.
You couldn't stay away. You could
Chill.
not do it.
I tried. I was like, let me work on the new season while this one is out.
But it's nothing wrong with that. So basically
Yeah.
what I'm trying to ask you is did you let it marinate like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
cooking some of
I gave
those
it
good
like, I want to say I
curry?
gave it like 2.5, 3 months to sit.
Okay, well that is enough time because that would have made up for every week,
Yeah.
12 episodes. So
Yeah.
that's cool. But did you see the growth still over that time?
Yeah. So I just want people to know that's an option too. Like, let's say you're somebody, you're in another medium. Maybe you do plays, maybe you do music. Maybe you're a dancer and you want to do a podcast and you just don't have the time. You have the time. You just have to figure out how to allocate it.
You know what? I was thinking about that,
Mm-hmm.
but I just didn't know how I was gonna do it. But you gave me a good idea,
Mm-hmm.
and I might do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I got the content. I got ideas, but I just love to keep doing it over and over and over and over. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what's popping. I switched to episodes. So I'm coming up on 200 episodes at the time
Mhm.
of this recording tomorrow.
Okay.
199 will be out. So if I was doing seasons, I'll be on season 8. And I may just say, hey, this is a series type thing and just
Mhm.
do something like that and drop 12 of them boys.
Yeah. You could do it. There's no rules to it. And um whatever your season cutoff, yeah, your episode cutoff is, that's on you. My season cutoff and episode cutoff in each season, unless it's a short mini series like that wellness one was,
Right,
it's usually around 30 to 40 episodes, and then I'm on to like a new season. Uh,
right.
me purposely because each season I have a focus, and then
Of course,
my episode,
you need to elaborate on the details from each branch of the tree.
yeah, and sometimes people will say sometimes you got episodes that are like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And
Quality over quantity.
yeah, and I like to say what I need to say and get off.
That's it.
Um, and I don't want to hold up people's time. One, I know I'm not the only podcaster people listen to. Two, the people that listen to my podcast are productive people. They got things to do, places to be, calls to make. And three, I like to make sure my audience can depend on me.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you've shared a lot today, but I want to formally ask you what's next.
Creator podcast is next. Um, I'm in talks of working on a new network with someone. Um, but I can't give any details yet. It's undecided still. But that's something I'm working on. But whatever I'm into, whatever I'm doing, it's never solely just to benefit me. When it comes to this creating and podcasting thing, because I feel like other people have things to say that people need, and I can't say it all. I can't do it all. And so my goal is to show people that there's a creative way to do something, there's a better way to do something. And if you think you can do it better, please do come through. Right. And so
Yes.
the creator is coming up. I think people are going to enjoy that, especially people who respect art. And when I say art, I just don't mean paper and pencil or marker or paint. I'm talking music, I'm talking photography, I'm talking product design, I'm talking architecture, I'm talking anything creative that someone has figured out how to make their career. I'm talking to them, and I'm talking about art that I've done, techniques that I use, just so people have a new appreciation for it. Because I hate a great home with naked walls. I hate going into establishment and there's no art. There's no way that you could be a good teacher and you ain't got no art on your walls. It's not happening. There's no way you can have a good day without music. Okay, art is all around us. Art is nature, and we have to respect it. Some people just need to be taught how to respect it, and that's what that podcast is going to be. I'm also looking forward to the new season of Cozy Room Podcast, where I'm going to focus on teenagers because we love them.
Woo, my
So
goodness. I'll
it's going
tell
to
you
be,
about these little jits,
yeah,
especially the girls.
it's going to be preteen talk, teenager talk, tips for parents to look out for, conversations that are not being had, being talked about by me. Um, I don't know, might have my oldest on there talking about different things, but I just feel like teenagers and preteens are our last hope, you know, for this new world that we're going to step into. And a part of being a good person and investing in your future is investing in them. And so I just want to make sure parents are prepared with the proper tools and resources, and they can't say nobody ever talked about this, because I'm going to talk about it. And yeah, it's going to be a good season. Shannon Pods is my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, please pay attention to it, where I'll be pushing out visuals of the episodes for those who want to watch, and audio and other people's shows that I do on there. So yeah, there's lots of places to find me at Shambi Podden on platforms. TikTok is prepared to go away at the end of August, September. So I hope people are prepared for that. It's a great
You know
platform, but
why?
I hate to see it go.
You
But
know why? It's growing. It's getting
yeah,
people paid,
yeah,
and the powers that be want them to pay you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You to
yeah,
pay them.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Sorry, I ain't mean to cut you off.
No, but that's a part of it, and I want people, creators, to talk to your people on TikTok. Make sure they know how to find you on your website, on other platforms, and make sure you have a place to gather that information from them so you don't lose them. Because a lot of people are going to lose because they're not prepared. And so, yeah, you can find me on IG. Cozy Room has their own page. So what page be on there? Shambi Podden and Wear It Right with Shan. And same thing with Twitter. There's no reason why you can't find me.
Not at all.
Okay.
Shan is busy. on
Yes,
X. Trust me, she's
yes,
busy.
yes, sir.
So if you could leave anything with the listeners of Rada's Live, what would it be?
Um, don't say you don't know how, figure out how. And that is a true measure of a person's intelligence. It does you no good asking a person how you can get what they're pushing, selling, um, if you didn't click any links, if you don't know how to Google. I am so tired of people using me like I'm Google. I am not Google. I do not have all the answers, Sway. So please click the links, check out the website, and when I post something, you can admire it, you can like it, but please in the comments do not ask me where you can get it because that tells me the level of intelligence that you're at, and I don't want to look at you sideways.
Link in bio.
Okay, just do like scroll through. I promise you, it's there. I promise you.
That's what's popping. So
Yeah.
this has been another episode of Rada's Live. Peace.
Bye.